the bilateral economic relationships between India and Pakistan, they are already, kind of non-existent. It's impact the relationship, the tensions between the consequences of tensions between Pakistan and India have not been, confined to trade or economic relationships between these two countries, but these has definitely affected emergence of a common market in South Asia. Pakistan's economic relations with Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal and all other SAARC countries, they have also suffered. But Indians have been a little clever on this. Trade relations or economic relations between India and Pakistan are already at the bottom. Even if you look at the trade numbers bilateral trade numbers between India and Pakistan for the last few years, we see that there has been considerable dip in ports and exports from India and exports to India since the terrorist attack in Pulwama. What happened was that after that Pulwama incident, India raised its tariffs on Pakistani goods to around 200%, and which made exports from Pakistan to India unfeasible and very expensive. Another thing that India did was withdrew the MFN, most favored nation status, to Pakistan. So, from India, this measure was the first serious hit on bilateral trade. Then Pakistan also decided to downgrade its trade relations with India after the abrogation of the special status of Kashmir in 2019. We actually almost banned imports from India, except a few selected items. So the trade between Pakistan and India, the direct trade between Pakistan and India has been 200 million to 400 million or something like per year. If you look at the latest numbers for the first 9 months of this financial year, we see that exports from Pakistan to India were just less than 0.5 million, and imports from India were like 176 million or 177 million. So, this is not the kind of trade that closure of which can have serious consequences for supply chain in any sector. Secondly, since the Pulwama incident, traders from Pakistan and India, they have found other means of import and export. For example, an Indian think tank has estimated that the indirect trade between India and Pakistan, through third countries like Dubai, like Singapore, that its volume has reached around $10 billion. So the indirect trade is, I think, more vibrant than the direct trade. Of course, that increases the cost of trade and it makes less efficient to trade between the two countries, but it is happening. Indian exporters, they take their goods to Singapore or to Dubai, they warehouse there, and then they change the labels, change the country of origin label, and then they export it to Pakistan. So same is happening in case of Pakistani exports to India. The second thing is that some industries like pharmaceutical industry, they have already, because of these restrictions, the trade restrictions, as well as the continuous tensions between the two countries, they have found some alternate sources for their APIs. So I don't think it's going to affect a lot. I am not sure about what Pakistan can do if Pakistan can stop Indian transit trade from through Pakistan to Afghanistan. If that happens, then Indian ports to Afghanistan, they will suffer. But even those exports are not much. They are less than $1 billion per annum. The bilateral economic relationships between India and Pakistan, they are already, kind of non-existent. Since we are going to restrict put more curbs on bilateral trade. Seasonal inflation, maybe. For example, we import vegetables and fruits from India when there is shortage in Pakistan. If we don't import these food items from India, immediate impact can be a little bit on inflation, but I don't see much impact on Pakistan's economy, Pakistan's any sector of the economy, whether agriculture or whether industry or services. There were times when we saw SARC framework become active. We saw trade between India and Pakistan grow. Direct trade grew grew to something like 2.5 billion dollars. That was the, I think, peak numbers of bilateral trade between India and Pakistan. So if we look at the trajectory, we see that there were many occasions since mid 1980s. There have been so many occasions when trade was suspended temporarily for a few days, for a few months, for a few years. This the most recently after Pulwama and after abrogation of Kashmir's special status, this is the longest period that we have seen downgrade of bilateral trade relationships between the two countries. But it has definitely, yes, you're right, it has a bigger impact. Its impact, the relationship, the tensions between the consequences of tensions between Pakistan and India have not been confined to trade or economic relationships between these two countries, but these has definitely affected emergence of a common market in South Asia. Pakistan's economic relations with Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal and all other SAARC countries, they have also suffered. But Indians have been a little clever on this. They just quit on the SAARC, but they went for bilateral, increasing bilateral trade relations with Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and other SAARC countries. So we see that India's trade volume with those countries has increased. On the other hand, Pakistan's trade volume with these countries has grown in the last few years, but it's very insignificant growth. The Kashmir issue has affected not just bilateral relationships but also among the SAARC countries. Say, for example, if we had good relationships with India, we could send our goods to Bangladesh, to Sri Lanka or other countries to India. So that would be cheaper and that would be easier to send. So this has affected the SAARC framework a lot. If we look at SAARC region, South Asian region, it is the least integrated region in the world. Look at the Southeast Asia, look at Europe, look at North America. Everywhere we see regional trade grow at phenomenal rates, and this has helped them create new supply chains. This has helped them not only boost bilateral trade within the region but also with other regions. Regional trade or regional economic ties, they are very important in the today's world. If we look at South Asia, we see that maybe India has good trade relations with Bangladesh or Sri Lanka or maybe other SAARC nations, but that still remains very small portion of its overall trade volume. For example, India's trade volume is around $800 billion or something like this. So, but their trade with the SAARC nations just a few $billion, less than maybe 5% of their total trade or like this something. I don't exactly have the exact numbers right now, but it's very small. We are able to solve our political issues. If the Kashmir issue is resolved, then definitely we can increase not only trade but economic cooperation, investment in each other's countries. We can create supply chains because we have some raw materials. India has some raw materials. Bangladesh has some raw materials. We are competitive with some industries. So we can pool our resources, and then not only that will strengthen our industry, our agriculture, our investment relations, but also, I mean, we will be able to, as a region, we will be able to export more to other regions like Europe or Southeast Asia, or maybe we can see a lot of investment coming here in certain competitive industries. These tensions have very serious economic consequences for the people of this region.